Welcome back to the ASUG News Studio. Delighted to have a special guest in here. Marco Dorn is in the studio with Gina and myself. We're going to be talking today about SAP's CEI program, and that stands for Customer Engagement Initiative.
Yes, that's
Marco,
right.
thank you for coming over and talking to us about this. This is a great issue for ASUG members as we talk about collaboration with SAP. Tell us a little bit about the program.
Sure, and thanks for having me here. So the Customer Engagement Initiative are SAP-driven focus groups where we enable ASUG members to join SAP development project at an early stage, so at an early point in time. And so the goal is really that customers and partners provide feedback on a regular basis to our product teams directly so that the right software is built in the right way.
Earlier today we talked to Stefan Kneis of the Customer Validation Program.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about the difference between ramp-up, customer validation, and where CEI comes in?
Sure. So when you look at the product lifecycle point of view, then the Customer Engagement Initiative, the collaboration we enable, is taking place at a much earlier stage. So first the definition, let's say, of a business case is done, whether a concrete development makes sense. Afterwards, it really goes into details how the functionality should be realized. People can really join the development processes, maybe on a monthly basis through virtual calls or maybe face-to-face meetings. And when this is done, the development, the software goes into validation, and that's where customer validation comes in. So it's validated that it's real, implementable and so on in real life context, and then it's going into ramp up and then general availability afterwards.
This is a new program, and when did it start?
Actually, we started in 2009, really with ASUG and with the German-speaking user group to get the first people involved. And then step by step, it really evolved into a big program where we cover all SAP products. So the whole SAP product portfolio is really represented on the list that we have. And we got more and more ASUG members involved.
Why did you target the user community as your first audience for this program?
So the user groups?
Yes.
Because I think the like ASUG and the user groups globally are really a great community. I mean, these are people that would like to influence SAP. I mean, influence is one of the three pillars of ASUG. So, I mean, it's a great audience, and we can really target the project and say, here we have 5 things for finance. Who of the finance community is interested in joining?
So when you open up something like this to a community, ASUG is very vocal, has a lot of ideas. How have you guys managed the fire hose of probably ideas you got back? What ways, strategies do you go to kind of make sure that doesn't get out of control?
So usually the focus of such project is really narrow. So it's not finance, but it's really something really special. Let's say we had one project in the past, how to process electronic bank statements. So it's really a narrow scope, so we try to find, let's say, 10 people or 10 companies who'd like to provide regular feedback. And so we hardly run into the problem that too many people want to join. And if then we have basically 3 layers, so one really intensive collaboration, face-to-face meetings, workshops at SAP locations, maybe then a bigger group to provide feedback on a virtual level, maybe once a quarter in calls. And then if there are still people who would like to join, but maybe it's not handleable because it's just too many, then they can just be in touch with the product teams on a regular basis to be informed what's the status, when is the functionality available, and so on. So we will never leave anybody out.
What are you doing this week at the ASUG Annual Conference in Sapphire now with your CEI program? I know you're here in the ASUG Lounge. I've seen you with a camera, I believe,
yes.
Roving reporter that you are. Share a little bit about that.
Sure, so what we do this week is we try to capture testimonials from ASUG members who participated in past projects that they can talk about what did they do, what was the result, what benefit do they see in this very close collaboration, which on the one hand, of course, takes some time from their side, but of course it has a huge value for them.
What are the benefits? Can you give us an example of a scenario that a company went through and what would those benefits were?
Sure, so one of the first projects which actually got finished already in 2009, it was in the PLM area. So it was all about the developers at high-tech companies develop a product and then it should go into manufacturing. And there was a disruption in the software to hand over these developed products and then go into manufacturing. So SAP went to the company, they sat together several times and really discussed how a handover can look like from a technical point of view. They got to the end users really at their workplace and could capture their feedback, and then this was integrated in the software and shipped with Enhancement Package 5 for ERP.
If you're a customer interested in participating in a CEI initiative, or CEI program, how do they get started? Where do they find more information?
So what they can do at asug.com is to sign up to be an influencer, to say, I'm interested in influencing SAP, so that whenever we have a new project list available, which is 3 times a year, they get informed at an early point, and then they have time to review this list of, let's say, 70 different projects. They can filter for their area of expertise, and then sign up for a first phone conference for all of these projects.
You mentioned all the product is it? Are there CEI initiatives for every single
Yes. Yeah.
SAP product?
Yeah, so as I was saying, we have 3 times a list of new projects. It's not that every product is on every of these lists, because maybe the development has already started, it's still running and so on. But we really work together internally with, the suite, the people from the business suite, from NetWeaver, from the BI teams. Of course, a lot is going on in the HANA space. We have projects with Business by Design, Business One, so it's really going down to the smallest pieces, to the smallest pieces of software.
What is the investment the customer needs to make to participate in a CEI initiative? Is this a long-term commitment? Does it require the business side, the IT side? Is there a cost associated with their participation?
So the amount of time which people want and can spend really depends on the project. So I think the fastest projects really only go 3 months, and that's when the colleagues would like to jointly develop a rapid deployment solution, so the packaging of software. And then the next step would be maybe a 3 to 6 month engagement when the colleagues would like to validate a business case whether concrete development makes sense. And then usually when it's really going into functional development, it's something like 6 to 12 months maybe. But the amount of time is really up to the individual between the company and SAP. If you say you want to really join intensively, it can be that there's a 1-day workshop at your side, SAP invites you a workshop, and there are regular phone conferences, or you say, well, I can only invest 1 hour per month and then on a phone, and that's all. So it really depends, but it's made clear right from the beginning on the registration page, and then on this initial call, how much time is required. And then people can decide to join or not to join.
We talk a lot about influencing SAP. You've mentioned it a couple times. This is, I just want to make sure the members understand, this is really one of those avenues that we talk about, a practical way to actually get your voice heard to SAP.
Yes, so right now all these projects are SAP driven, so they are more SAP driven focus groups. In contrast to the influence councils, which are mostly initiated by the ASUG members and which are a longer term collaboration and usually have a broader scope. So you could see an influence council from ASUG as a strategic discussion, longer term investment, broader scope, and then you can say the stuff that we offer can be a sub-project of this influence council. So focus really out of the finance area for a 6-month period of time or something like that.
What's been the feedback from the customers that you've talked to, perhaps some of those that participated in your rogue videotaping? What are they saying about the program?
So far, they are really happy that SAP is listening to them and really their voice is heard. And it doesn't matter whether it's a big company, it's a smaller company, they're really happy that SAP is engaging with them really intensively and they see the outcome. So yeah, so far people are really happy to join.
How big can this get? How big do you want it to get?
The program?
Yeah, the program. Like how many, is it the 3 projects a year you mentioned, or you wanted more than that? How big?
We're always interested in getting more people involved, especially it's interesting for the colleagues who are developing, for example, out of the United States or out of Canada, to have people close by, companies close by. Mm-hmm. So the more people we can get involved from ASUG, the better, because then people from Vancouver, for example, can easily visit people in British Columbia, or so the cost won't get high, and vice versa. If there's a workshop in Vancouver, it's easy to come.
Great.
I have one last question.
Sure.
How do you share the results of maybe what one company did in Minneapolis with the rest of the companies that maybe are using the product the same way? How are you reporting back what you're collecting?
So the people that join the project, or that are they're either on a really intense level or maybe on a review board, they're kept in the loop all the time. So whenever the project is finished, there's a final call where all the results are shared. And then we have presentations here, for example, at annual conference as well, in the influence track, but as well in the different tracks of, let's say, SCM, where people talk about what they did in the project, what is the result, and what is really the outcome, and how people can access the functionality.
That's excellent.
Great. So again, once again, to find out more information, ASUG members should go to asug.com. And where was that on asug.com they should look?
So, I mean, I work mainly with the influence team, so it's in the influence section, and people can sign up and say, I'm interested in influencing, so please keep me in the loop, and then they will receive as well automatically this list of registration page.
Great. Well, thank you very much for stopping by. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thanks for having me here.
So go to asug.com and check that out, and also go to ASUG News to hear more interviews and video interviews from Sapphire Now and ASUG Annual Conference.